Thank you for joining us here on KARE 11 News Now. I'm Alicia Lewis. Let's get to your headlines today. You are waking up to quite the mess across Minnesota this morning. It looks like a winter wonderland. Just what we want to see in April. Hard to forget that it is the month of April. And our weather team is calling it a KARE 11 weather impact alert for most of the day today. But the worst of it is actually staying north of the Twin Cities metro. We're going to check in with meteorologist John Ziegler in a little bit for your full forecast. Big developments out of Wisconsin this morning. The Associated Press is reporting Democrat-backed Susan Crawford has won the open seat on the Wisconsin Supreme Court. Looking at the latest numbers, she has 55% of the vote, with nearly all of the votes counted. She defeated Brad Schimmel, who was endorsed by President Trump and supported financially by Elon Musk. Crawford's win keeps the Wisconsin High Court under a 4-3 liberal majority, although the race is officially nonpartisan. The race got national attention and is now considered the most expensive court race in U.S. history. Well, after months of speculation, President Trump will unveil his much anticipated new tariff plan today at the White House. Markets and consumers are bracing for new tax hikes. A day after voters went to the polls in 2 key states and gave an early indication of how they're feeling about the second Trump administration so far. As Democrats wrap up their opposition to President's agenda, a one-man protest set a new record in the Senate. NBC's Alice Barr has the latest from Capitol Hill.
Hi there. As we await details of what President Trump is calling his Liberation Day tariffs, both political parties are looking for signs of how voters feel about the president's agenda, and last night's elections could offer clues. This morning, after the first major elections of President Trump's second term, both Democrats and Republicans claiming victories they hope point to a larger picture. All right, Wisconsin, we did it. Susan Crawford beating conservative Brad Schimmel.
You got to accept the results.
In Wisconsin's closely watched Supreme Court race, maintaining a liberal majority on the battleground state's high court, despite Trump advisor Elon Musk pouring millions into the race.
Wisconsinites fended off an unprecedented attack on our democracy.
And fueling Democrats' views of Musk as a political weakness.
Elon Musk was just rejected decisively.
While in Florida, 2 Republicans won special elections for congressional seats left vacant by Trump appointees, shoring up the razor-thin GOP House majority.
This election is a reminder that Florida Panhandle will forever be red and it'll be forever Trump country.
Both candidates won by far smaller margins than President Trump's November victory, as Democrats look to seize on any sign of momentum. Senator Cory Booker set a record 25-hour-plus speech on the Senate floor against what he calls a national crisis posed by President Trump.
And he's violating principles that we hold dear.
It all comes as the nation and the world are bracing for the president's reciprocal tariffs rollout today against all foreign trading partners.
They've been ripping us off for years.
Canada among the nations awaiting a full list and promising to push back.
We'll go tariff for tariff, dollar for dollar.
The new tariffs are set to take effect immediately and add to a sweeping series already in place. Even before we learn the details today of President Trump's new tariff plans, the White House press secretary left the door open to potential changes, saying President Trump is always up to take a phone call and negotiate, but is focused on fixing wrongs of the past and showing American workers have a fair shake. In Washington, I'm Alice Barr. Back to you.
This morning, layoffs at the Minnesota Department of Health have begun. The agency cutting nearly 200 jobs after announcing last week that the federal government was terminating $226 million in federal grants. The officials with MDH say that money helps employees respond to infectious disease outbreaks. These cuts put that all in jeopardy, along with other programs like vaccine clinics, wastewater surveillance, and even building upgrades at places like jails and nursing homes where we know disease can spread quickly. The commissioner calling the news unprecedented and unexpected.
This is not just COVID monies. It is our entire infectious disease work, but we're just feeling the impacts because the impacts are real and they are immediate and they are highly concerning.
President Trump standing behind these cuts this morning, saying that the pandemic is over. Health Secretary Kennedy echoing that, saying that the country needs to shift course and prioritize that money for other projects. Well, happening at the state capitol, lawmakers are debating a bill proposal to scale back the free school meals lunch program. Republican Representative Andrew Myers introducing the bill. It would require a family of 4 making roughly $150,000 to pay for lunches. He says schools are facing challenges like less teachers and resources, in part because districts are losing federal money to support low-income families. Happening right now, Israel announcing an expanded military operation in Gaza to seize more land along the strip there. Israeli officials say that the zone is needed for security, while Palestinians view this as a land grab. NBC's Matt Bradley is in Tel Aviv with the very latest.
We just heard new evacuation orders being announced by the Israeli military for the northern part of the Gaza Strip as the Israeli military expands their operations in Gaza now more than 2 weeks since they broke that ceasefire that had been in place for 2 months, negotiated in part by the United States, and returned to fighting there. Well more than 1,000 people have been killed there, according to Palestinian health authorities in Gaza, which is ruled by Hamas. Now, we heard from Defense Minister Israel Katz, who said this morning that the expansion of the military operations is aimed at seizing more territory in the Gaza Strip. Now, this echoes things he had said earlier, that any territory that they take, the Israelis take in the Gaza Strip, will be taken permanently and annexed. This has been very troubling to people throughout the Middle East who see this as more of a land grab than an actual fight just against Hamas. And that's what we heard from the Forum of the families of those remaining hostages, of whom there are thought to be about 24 still alive. They slammed this decision and the announcement by Israel Katz and said that the government here in Israel is putting land grabs and territorial expansion ahead of the welfare of those remaining hostages. Now, further afield, we're continuing to see U.S. strikes against Yemen, against the Houthi rebels there. At least 4 people were killed overnight in multiple attacks. Now we understand from the Houthis, that rebel group that has continued to try to strike here in Israel with long-range weapons, they said that more than 50 people have been killed so far in the fight by the United States against the Houthis. Matt Bradley, NBC News, Tel Aviv.
As you finish up your workday today, we could find out if an emergency declaration over trash collection in St. Paul will end tomorrow or be extended. The declaration went into effect yesterday. It temporarily suspends zoning regulations at the site of the city's new garbage hauler, FCC Environmental Services, in the West 7th neighborhood. This allows FCC to pick up trash this week. Mayor Carter's urging the council to extend the declaration for 90 days so the city can work through zoning disputes there. Well, Hollywood is hurting this morning. Actor Val Kilmer, best known for his roles in 1986 Top Gun and 1995's Batman Forever, has died. Val Kilmer was just 65 years old, and according to his daughter, he died from pneumonia in Los Angeles, surrounded by family and friends and loved ones. NBC's Joe Fryer has a look back on his life and his career.
You figured it out yet? What's that? Who's the best pilot?
This morning, Hollywood is remembering a cool, charismatic, and confident on-screen star.
You can be my wingman anytime.
Val Kilmer, who took on iconic roles from Iceman to Batman.
It's the car, right? Chicks love the car.
He passed away at the age of 65, his daughter says, from pneumonia. Actor Josh Brolin summed up the star's on-screen persona in a tribute, writing, "You were a smart, challenging, brave, uber-creative firecracker. There's not a lot left of those." Born in Los Angeles in 1959, Kilmer became one of the youngest students admitted to the Juilliard School's acting program. His early roles were in comedies, Top Secret and Real Genius. But his big break came in 1986's Top Gun, where he starred as cocky naval pilot Iceman opposite Tom Cruise.
What's your problem, Kazansky? You're everyone's problem. That's because every time you go up in the air, you're unsafe.
He cemented his leading man status playing legendary rocker Jim Morrison in the Oliver Stone-directed The Doors.
I'm the poet and you're my muse.
Following it up with a star-making run of 90s movies, including Tombstone.
That's the rumor.
And Heat, starring opposite Robert De Niro and Al Pacino. In 1995, Kilmer took on his biggest role yet, the Caped Crusader in Batman Forever.
If Bruce Wayne could have given his life for your family, he would have.
The movie was a hit, though Kilmer did not play Batman again. The method actor famously going to great lengths for his roles. In 1996, talking about his bad boy image on Today.
Michael Douglas helped me to understand, although it's kind of saddening, but he said really it's a compliment if you get they don't write about people they're not interested in.
He faced health struggles in later years, diagnosed with throat cancer in 2014. Though he recovered after several operations, his voice was never the same.
My name is Val Kilmer. I'm an actor.
In 2021, he reflected on his career in the documentary Val.
I've lived a magical life, and I've captured quite a bit of it.
Kilmer had forged on, staying in the Hollywood mix. His most memorable later role came alongside an old friend.
Who's the better pilot, you or me?
Top Gun Maverick would be Kilmer's last appearance on screen.
Well, he's a favorite of mine is Mad Mardigan in Willow. He'll be missed for sure. Hey, stick with us. More news and weather coming up after the break.